Yeah. Now let's look at a what if analysis on this data. For example, I create a few scenarios. On the finance data only, let's create a scenarios. If I pay 30,000 per month as the EMI, in how many months will my loan be cleared? Right? One scenario. The same loan, whatever the 20 lakhs loan which I have taken for 10 years, whatever. If I am paying 30,000 per month as the EMI, in how much period my loan would be cleared off? One scenario. And I want breakup of principal for 1 to 120 months, or probably breakup of principal and interest month-wise. 3. I have 3 scenarios. Borrow 25 lakhs for 25 years at 12% interest per annum. Borrow 15 lakhs for 15 years at 10% per annum interest. Borrow 30 lakhs for 30 years at 14% per annum. Let's say these are the 3 scenarios which I have. I want to decide, or probably change it the other way. Let's say like this. In these 3 situations, I want to find out which one is having the least EMI. So there are multiple scenarios that are available to me, and I want to keep these 3 scenarios side by side and evaluate them for the EMI. So there are 3 things which I am trying to do as a part of what if analysis. These are 3 major scenarios. 1. What is the first one telling me? I have already calculated the EMI as a part of Q2. On that same example, it is saying, okay, as per this question, 27,550 is my EMI. Right? But this question is saying that I will pay 30,000 as the EMI. Which means the answer, the output is actually getting fixed to a certain number. Right? The output actually is 27,550 through our formula. But I want that output to be 30,000. Now what change do I need to make to the input? Number of months I have to change. So if at all there is a situation of fixing the output, you have done some calculation, you got some output. You want to fix the output, you know what is the answer it should come. You want to fix the output, like here I want the output answer as 30,000. You want to fix the output and change one of the values of the input. In this case, these 4 are inputs for us. Right, in our question 2, except for PMT, remaining 4 are inputs, which we got from the question. And PMT was our answer, which we solved. But now if I want to fix the output value and then change one of the inputs, which is what is the situation for me now. That is one type of what if analysis. Fix the output value and work backwards to change the input. Typically process flow is you take a bundle of inputs, do some formulas to calculate the output. Now I am going the reverse way. I know this is the output which I want. What value of the input I need to change? Only one of the inputs. So in our case, the input which I wanted to change was number of months. I can change any of the remaining 4. Right? Now that is one kind of what if analysis where you freeze the input, freeze the output and try to change one of the input. That kind of tool is typically called as goal seek. You know your goal. You know 30,000 is your goal. And based on that you are changing the inputs. So that is what is the what if analysis called goal seek. Now the way we interpret that goal seek typically is under this data what if analysis. Under the data tab we have a what if analysis situation. We have 3 tools. Right? Goal seek is for the 3 questions which we have created, we use these 3 tools. I have created 3 questions right now, right? So for each one of them you use one of those. I'll tell you the scenarios. But for this scenario where the output is fixed and input we want to change by working backwards, goal seek is a very good tool to go with. Whatever complex is your calculation, if you know this is your output and you want to change one of the inputs of that, you can directly go with a goal seek. Now very simple, only 3 values to be provided. What cell you want to fix? This should be your output cell. This is your output. The cell that there you have to point out the cell. That's your output cell. What value you want to make it to? 30,000 minus 30,000 because you have to pay. Even there also it is put in brackets. So you write it as minus 30,000. Now by changing cell, which cell you want to change? Which is an input cell? This one. Because our question is saying, if I pay 30,000 per month, in how many months will my loan be created? So I have to actually compute the number of months. Now you simply do okay, you will get the solution. Oh, here this was actually a formula. This we multiplied by 12. So it has to be actually an input. Wherever it sees a formula, it takes it as an output. So they directly just type it as 120 months. Now you can apply the goal seek. So set this to minus 30,000 by changing cell this one. It does the calculation for you, you see. It is calculated as 30,000, 103.5 months. Instead of 120 months, your loan is getting accelerated to 103.5 months. Right? So that is where now no calculations, nothing is changed. Formulas, everything are as it is. The only thing is your input got changed to accommodate your output. So goal seek works from that standpoint. You fix one of your outputs. You fix your output. Work the goal. Now if we see, well, I'll change it to something else also. Probably let's observe it slightly in more detail. Let's say instead of 30,000, I will make it 15,000 only. and I'll change the number of months. You see, it does not calculate in one single step. It does it as an iteration. You see, the values keep changing here. Just observe here. It's not able to get the output. 15,000 looks much lesser. It did not find. Oh, it found. It has found only up to 18,000. It could not find anything for 15,000. So even if you pay 15,000 per lifetimes or 100 lifetimes, still it is not matching your loan amount. So it could solve only up to 18,000. So probably let's say we'll put 20,000. We'll set it to 20,000. You see, it does a kind of iteration. Even 20,000. Let's make it now from here. Because there it has got stuck, so it's not able to solve it. So let's see now. It's able to solve it. So there it was stuck, so it was just continuing in that loop there. So now it is saying within 272 months, your loan will be cleared. If you are ready to pay 20,000 every month, so probably it is going to take how much? 20, 22 years, 23 years almost. 240 and another 24, 264 and 22 and a half years. When you are paying 20,000 per month, it's going to take 22 and a half years to clear off your loan. So the system is also doing a kind of iterative process. It's not following a kind of no formula or something there. It's going with a trial and error kind of an approach. If something is getting more, do the other side. If it is coming less, take the higher side. So just trying to balance of these things. So there is a kind of, but if we do it as human beings, we take too much of a time for doing it. So because of the system processing, it does that processing in a faster approach. Right? Then, now look at the second question. Break up the principal and interest for 1 to 120 months. Now, so let me go back and change it to 120. Right? Now, what I want is, I have computed only for 1 month the principals. Now, just with this 1 month calculation, I want to replicate for 120 months. So, because the principal keeps increasing, interest keeps decreasing. So, what I want to do is, let's say for the whole of 120 months, for the whole of 120 months, I want what is the principal part. So, one single calculation, if I want to replicate for various scenarios, right, like this, instead of, so it's as good as here you put 3, which will give me the third month data. This is the principal, this is the interest for third month. If I put 8, 8th month principal and interest. Now I have to do that exercise 120 times to get all my 120 months data. So wherever I have the same formula, I am reusing them for different input values, which means the input value, there is one input that is changing, which is in this case, this is the only input that is changing. It is changing so many values. It is taking so many values, more than 5, 10. But only one input is changing. And I want to observe the output. Like one input is changing so many for different scenarios. I want to observe how the output is going to come out. In that case, I depend on a tool called data table. This is the what if analysis tool, especially see, well, goal-seek will help you like fix the output, change the input, observe the input. But data table will help you in multiple values of one input, observe the output without disturbing your calculations. For that, the simple thing to do is you list down all the values which you would like to observe in one column or in one row. Here we have listed it in one column. One cell up and one cell to the right. You specify, you link it to the output cell which you want to observe. So I say equal to this value. I want to observe the principal part first. I'll link this to the output cell which I want to observe. So this is the output cell and this is the input cell for me. Because I want to change that to 8, 9, 10, 11, all the numbers. So that will be my input cell. My output cell is I want to observe the principal. After that I will do the interest, which means I will again point it to the other one. Right? Now, select this entire data, including that top cell. There we are not bothered about the value. So there we are not bothered about the value. We are only bothered about the cell. So whatever is the value inside that, don't bother. You select it up to here. Then go into what if analysis data table. Now, did you give your data in the form of a row or a column? Here it is in the form of a column. If I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a one single row, then I will call it as row input. Otherwise, I will call it column input. So come to a column input. What is your input cell? This is my input cell. So what happens here? All the inputs which we have listed down, one after the other, they will go into what we have specified as the input cell. Whatever we have specified as the output cell, that value will be copied corresponding to that input. And I will get a list. In one single go, I will get my list. Gives me very clearly that this is the breakup of my principal for the 120 months. Now probably if I add up all these principals, it should be equal to 20 lakhs. Just try adding up all of them. It should be equal to 20 lakhs. Right? So it has the same way, instead of principal cell, you point it to interest cell. Instead of G9, point it to H9. It will give the breakup of the interest. So in the first month, this is the interest, second month, this is the interest, and so on. Without doing, with only one calculation, we are able to handle out the remaining 120 calculations. Because what it actually handles is, if one input is changed in the data, this is typically called as sensitivity analysis. In the technical parlance, it is called as sensitivity analysis. You change one input data for multiple values, and observe what is your output. Here my output is principal or interest, and the input typically is that the period, 8th month, 9th month, 10th month, that is my input. So I want to observe that and that is what is going to come out as my EMI. So when I am going to change one input for multiple values and I want to observe my output, this is what I can use. I can take the help of a data table. This is a second what if analysis scenario. Now there may be situations where more than one input will change. As long as one input is changing for multiple occurrences, I can very well go with a data table. But if multiple inputs are changing, just like your third question, the loan borrowed is different, the time period of the loan is different, and even the interest rates are different. But at the end I have to compute EMI only. This only I have to compute. But all the inputs are different. If it is only one field that is differing for multiple values, then I can take data table. But if that is not the case, if multiple inputs are changing and I want to observe all of them side by side, then I can take the help of scenario manager. That's the third one. Now let's go and create the scenario manager. But the only problem is we have to type in all the stuff in a scenario manager. So right now there are no scenarios. I'll add one scenario, which is the first scenario, S1. Which cells are changing here? The PV is changing. Correct? The PV is changing because there are different loan amounts. The interest rates are changing. One is at 12%, one is at 14%. The interest rates are changing. And even the number of months are changing. Right? Some of them are at 15 years. So these three are changing. Now what the system asks is, okay, you should, now what is the value for the first one? 25 lakhs I am borrowing. The first scenario. 25 lakhs, 25 years, 12% interest. Okay, I'll write 25 lakhs. What is the interest rate? 12%. 12% is per year. So probably I'll write it as 1% per month. Right? 1% per month. And how many months? This is for 25 years. So 300 months. This is my first scenario. This is my first scenario. 25 lakhs loan at 1% per month for 300 months. Now add up. Create a second scenario, S2, by changing the same three elements. Now here, what are the numbers? 15 lakhs, 15 years, 14% interest. Okay, 15 lakhs, 14% interest. Probably if I do 14% by 12, let's see if it takes, otherwise we have to calculate it separately and then write. 14% by 12, that's the per month interest rate. And how many months? 15 years. So 180 months. This is the second scenario for me. Then I am creating a third scenario. In the third scenario, my situation is 30 lakhs, 30 years, 10% interest. 30 lakhs, 10% by 12 is the monthly interest rate. And 30 years is 360 months. Now, these are the three scenarios which I have. Now, with these three scenarios, S1, S2, S3, I want to do a summary. I want to look at these three scenarios side by side. What do I want to calculate here? I want to calculate the EMI. I want to calculate the EMI. And probably I want to calculate the principal breakup. and even the interest breakup. I want to calculate three things. Okay, so output also is multiple. I do an okay. Yeah, it is not able to take those values 14 by 12 and 10 by 12. So probably we should give them as better values. We'll again recreate the scenario. So let's go to the what if analysis scenario manager. We'll edit our scenarios. Right? We'll edit the scenario 2 wherein this 14% by 12% it's not able to take. So probably how much? 7 by 6. So 7 by 6 is like 1.166%. Let's just call it as 1.16%. Right? Seven by six. Yeah, 1.16%. Whereas in S3's case, 5 by 6, which because it is 10 by 12. 5 by 6 is 0.833%. Let's put like this. Okay, S2 is 1.63%, 1.66%. Now let's do the summary. Okay. This time when we process, yeah, this time it gives. Now you see it is saying in the first case the EMI is 26,330. In the second case it is only 19,968. And in the third case it is 26,238. So probably the second case is looking more and more attractive in case of less EMI. And even the principal interest breakup, the first and the last are almost same on the principal breakup. Whereas here it is lesser because the total, and even from the interest front also they are more or less the same. But at least the second one is much attractive because your total EMI is only 19,000, whereas the other two are going to 26,000 as the EMIs. So what you can, the scenario manager is a very good tool, especially in terms of watching the scenarios side by side. All the three scenarios which we have created, they are all shown side by side, and probably even the table formatting, everything is good enough. So we can get very good understanding of this. We can analyze the different situations in a very better manner. Sometimes this is typically the technical term for this is scenario analysis itself. Multiple inputs are changing and I want to observe multiple outputs. In this case, I'll use a scenario manager. So in summary, if I change one input multiple times and I observe the output, I use data table. If the output is fixed and I want to find out what is the appropriate input, I'll use goal seek. If multiple inputs are changing and multiple outputs need to be observed, I'll go with a scenario manager. These are the three very important what if analysis tools from an Excel usage standpoint.